It's the night of the 2024 election. Uh, Certainly a momentous moment in history because we've never had so much interest in an election by such a broad cross section of society. We've never had, I don't think, not in some time, people switching parties in unbelievable ways. Certainly, it seems to have little to do with the philosophy of the parties, or at least the historical philosophies of the parties. Certainly, we've sort of gone in different directions in sort of extreme ways these days. But people who were historically, and you would think would continue to be Republican, are not, and people who historically were Democrat, and you would assume would be Democrat, are not. And a lot of folks who were independents who might have at one time have sat out and done nothing have gotten pretty enthusiastic. So everybody has hope, and we need to continue to have hope. But it's not going to matter which one of these candidates you vote for as far as everything getting hunky dory. We're headed for hard times. Doesn't matter what the candidates say about how great things are going to be tomorrow or next year or in the few months. I'm pretty confident it'll take years for us to dig ourselves out of the hole that we're in economically, if not, you know, a lack of integrity as far as the world goes as a nation, and financially, the various integrity is probably the big thing that we've lost in over the years with some pretty ridiculous, manipulative, unjust, abusive edicts and behaviors. So hopefully we will find our way out of this. However, as I said, it's not going to be, there's no miracle about to happen. If we choose to follow our Constitution and not just talk about it, because as I've said in other videos, there's a lot of people who just bald-faced lie to you and tell you what's in the Constitution. It's not there, or what our society is about historically, and it's not true. But if we follow the Constitution, there is some hope for us. And the big hope is grounded in, while many of the ideals of our the revolution that happened here and in France came out of the Renaissance, out of the whole idea of humanism, the celebration of humanity. Our country is based not on humanism, if you read our founding documents, but on the idea that we are created. We're not just humans who just happen to exist by chance, but we were created by God, who created us to be equal in His eyes. That means in each other's eyes, we should see each other as equal as possible. We should respect each other equally. That's probably at the bottom of it, the base of it. We should love each other equally. And even if you come from the Christian faith, you have Jesus saying, you need to even love your enemies. So that's probably really important at this point. The way this election has been going is that people need to learn to love their enemies. And if they claim that they're Christians, they certainly should be loving their enemies, even in the midst of the turmoil that they might be feeling. But we're founded on that notion that we're created equal, and there's different aspects of our Constitution that determines that we have individual rights, and that the greater society, or no one individual in society, doesn't dictate what and who we, what we do and where we go, etc., what we say, etc. No, that's the idea between church and state. That a state, the state of Georgia or the state of North Carolina or New Hampshire, can't decide everybody in that state has to be a Muslim. That's more relevant today than it was back then. But back then it was whether or not you were going to be a Presbyterian, a Congregationalist, or an Episcopalian, Church of England. So that's important that we have individual rights. And there's countries around the world that, although we assume that they're the same kind of democracies that we are, they don't have the same individual rights. Their rights are still dictated, government leadership down, king down, parliament down. And the guy, everyday guy like you and I, we don't have they don't have those same rights that we have here. And we need to hold on to that. We need to celebrate our individual rights and not let our representatives come up with some of these silly notions that there's things that get through our legislatures that are nonsensical. They make no sense. They don't represent. They're so packed with things that are anti-individual rights or anti-state right or whatever it is. It's just packed with stuff. Instead of give us a law that we can vote on that's about one thing. And here in Florida right now, we've got things we've been voting on up through today that instead of giving us just a clear-cut choice, they just stick all kind of stuff into the bill and then pretend that those other the secondary, the things that they're not talking about, that they're not celebrating in front to us, that those things are not going to have any impact, but they will. So we need representatives, and that's who represent the individuals, and not a corporation, not a special interest, but all of the individuals. We need to be good people, and we need good representatives, people who, nobody's good all the time, of course. And we're all falls short, but we need to expect that out of our leadership. We got a long way to go. I don't know how we're going to get out of the mess we're in, but we need to determine that we're going to do it in a constitutional way and not just by the mob, however a particular 51%. And this is something we have to remember. We do not live in a democracy. We have democratic principles, but we live in a republic where we vote for representatives. Those representatives need to have good heads and good hearts and not have screwy ideas and not be beholden to special interest or particular individuals, etc. I don't know. It's a hard thing. It's hard. But if we state the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, these things are based on people who were men of faith. In our case, they were Christian. They're based on Christian principles. And whether you are a Christian yourself, you need to appreciate at least that your country is based on Christian principles. And you need to follow those Christian principles, whether you believe in any particular Christian doctrines otherwise. I urge you that you might want to find God, but I'm not dictating that you should or that you must, but only that you need to appreciate that our principles, that our Constitution and Declaration of Independence, etc., are based on were Christian principles. And so we need to follow those as we go forward. So if you're a praying person, keep praying. If you're not a praying person, you might consider doing so. Best to you as we go forward.